Good afternoon, everyone. I hope we all are well. In today's video, we're going to discuss equation of a line in a more advanced version. So do you remember this formula in the last video? Y equals mx plus c. The m represents the slope and the c represents the y-intercept. So we would use this formula when they give us the equation. So when you're given the equation and ask us to find the slope. But in this equation, this looks new. So we use this formula when they give us, when you're given 2 points, then asked to find the equation of a line. And we're going to do some examples together. So if you're given point -2, 1, and point -3, 5, and they are asking you to find the equation of the line. So firstly, how on earth would you do that? Well, to do so, you need 2 things. You need a point, a singular point, and you also need the slope. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the slope. And we know how to do that. We're given 2 points and we need to find the slope. So we are going to use the equation y2 take y1 all over x2 take x1. We need to find the slope. Because if we look at our formula here, this m, what does that m represent? This m represents slope. And this x1 and this y1, that would consist a point. X and y, that would consist of point. Now this y and this x, we're really just going to ignore it. We're not going to touch it. We're not going to do anything to it. Now back to the question. y2 take y1 all over x2 take x1. Now remember, before we go into the formula, what do? We label our coordinates. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So x2 is 5 minus 1 all over -3, take bracket -2. Now we are going to fix this. It looks quite messy, so we're going to fix it. 5 minus 1 all over -3. Now, like signs give a plus. So -3 plus 2. And 5 minus 1 is 4, and -3 plus 2 is just -1. So 4 over -1, we're going to simplify that to -4. So that is our slope of these 2 points. So we've done the first thing. We figured out the slope. So now let's write that down. So our slope is -4. And now the second thing that we need is a point. But wait, we have 2 points given here. So what do? Well, it's as simple as you choose. You choose a point. To choose what point you want to use. So I'm just going to use the first one. It really doesn't matter what to use. Personally, in my opinion, if you are given 2 points and you have the option to choose a point that is all positive, I would go for the all positive one. Because if there is negatives, there is more room for error. In this case, they're both negatives in them. So I'm just going to choose the first one. Now my point that I'm going to use is -2, 1. Now we have our slope, yes, and we have our point, yes. Now what are we going to do? We are going to write out this equation. So stay with me here, stay with me, we got this. Y take y1 equals m bracket x take x1. So we are given this equation, yes? And we have our slope and we have our point. Remember what I said earlier. This y and this x, we do not touch them. We do not touch them. This stays the same. So these two stay the same. Stays the same. You do not touch them. But this x1 and this y1, that is from the 1 point that you have chosen. And this m represents a slope. Do you remember that? So let's fill that in. We're leaving out the y. Take y1. So now we're going to label them. y1 is 1 equals m. So our slope is -4. So -4 bracket x. Remember, we're leaving the x. x1 is -2. So we're going to do a -2 in a bracket. Now, before we move on, we're going to fix this Oh, remember what I said, do not multitask. Under any circumstance, do not multitask. So y take 1 is equal to minus 4 bracket x plus 2. So what do we do in this case? Remember what I said. This equation is used when you are given 2 points and asked to find the equation of the line. And the equation of the line is y equals mx plus c. We need our answer to be in this form to give us the slope and to give us the y-intercept. Clearly. So this is our influence. This is our goal. This is where we're trying to work towards. We are going to tidy this up. Firstly, we have this bracket. So we're going to multiply minus 4 by everything in this bracket. So y minus 1 is equal to minus 4 multiplied by x is minus 4x. Minus 4 multiplied by a positive 2 is, remember, unlike signs, give a minus, and 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. So now what are we going to do? So we have our y, we have our x. Does this start to look familiar to this? But the only thing that is really stopping us is this minus 1. Y is singular. It's by itself on this side. So we need to move this minus 1 to the other side. Now, when you move a singular number to the other side, it becomes its opposite sign. So in this case, it's a minus 1. When you bring it to the other side, when you bring this to the other side, that'll become a plus 1. So y is equal to minus 4x minus 8. So I'm just rewriting this, and I'm bringing this to the other side, plus 1. Now we're going to tidy this up. Y is equal to minus 4x minus 7. Do we see that? So they were asked you, okay, you have to find the equation of a line given these 2 points. This would be your answer. Because if you look at it, what's this? So y equals mx plus c, and you have y is equal to minus 4x minus 7. Our slope is minus 4, and our y-intercept is 0 minus 7. Now, but in this case, it's not asking for the y-intercept or slope. So if we're asked the question, now this is a realistic question which would be asked in an exam or a test or anything like that. So find the equation. So this is kind of giving us the hint that we are going to use the formula y take y1. Going to use this equation. So, which passes to the 2 points. That's another hint that we're given 2 points and we have to find the equation of a line. So let's do so. So I'm going to rewrite the points. So I'm going to rewrite the points right here. So 4 minus 6 and 8, 8. So we are going to find our slope. So we're going to label x1, y1, x2, y2, and we're going to solve for our slope, which is, our formula is y2 take y1 all over x2 take x1. So y2 is 8, y1 is minus 6, we're going to put that in a bracket, all over x2 is 8, take x1 is 4. Going to simplify that. Like signs, give a plus. And 8 take 4, so 14, 4, and that just simplifies 7 over 2. So our slope is 7 over 2. From these 2 points, that is our slope. Now remember what I said. You get to choose a point. When you're given 2 points, you get to choose which point to use when you're going to use this formula. Y take y1 equals m bracket x take x1. What point am I going to use? Well, remember what I said earlier? Point I'm going to use is 8, 8. Now, also, in an exam, write out your point and your slope. I actually should have wrote this down here. I apologize. 7 over 2. Now, write out what is your point, what is your slope. Write it out clearly on your page to show the examiner or your teacher or whoever's correcting your work, just to show that this is what I'm using. You know what I mean? Because they're not mind readers. They can't understand what's going on inside your head. So let's do this. So let's label our points. Now, y take y1, that is 8, equals, now our slope is 7 over 2. X take x1, which is 8, right? What do we do when it's a fraction? So what is the opposite of division? The opposite of division is multiplication. Now, what you do to get rid of this fraction, because, well, yes, you can multiply 7 over 2 by this, but in my opinion, it's way more complicated. There can be more room for errors. So what I would do is I would take the denominator, right? I would take 2 and I'd bring it to the other side. But remember, when you bring something to the other side, it becomes the opposite of what it is. So that means you're multiplying it. So let me just write it out. 2 multiplied by y take 8 equals 7 by x take 8. Now, let's just break this down. I took this denominator and I multiplied it to the other side to break up the fraction because we don't need the fraction. Now, the thing is when you're multiplying this to the other side, you need to multiply everything that is on this side. Same goes for the 7. You're multiplying the 7 by everything on that side as well. So you're multiplying 2 by everything on this side and you're multiplying 7 by everything on this side. Now people ask, well, why can't I just bring the top number to the other side? The denominator, the bottom number is always the number that goes. It always is the number that moves to the other side. The top number always stays there. For example, if you had the question, y take 8 minus 7 over 2, x take 8, right? What would you do in that situation? Okay, so you bring the bottom number over, but it's a minus. So would you bring this minus over with the 2? You would not. You would not. So the numerator, the top number, always stays where it is with whatever sign is with it. In this case, a minus is with it, so it keeps there. The denominator, the number that you're moving to the other side, is always positive. So when you're moving this to the other side, so it will be 2 multiplied by y take 8 minus 7 multiplied by x take 8. So this minus will stay with the top number. It will stay with the top number and be multiplied on this side. Does that make sense? Okay, but that's just in the situation if you had a negative fraction. Anyways, moving on, back to our question. So now this is just simple algebra. 2 multiplied by y is 2y. 2 multiplied by minus 8 is minus 16. Equals 7 multiplied by x is 7x. And 7 multiplied by minus 8 is minus 56. So 2y is equal to 7x minus 56. You see, I'm just rewriting this. And I'm bringing this to the other side at the end. So this will become a plus 16. So 2y is equal to 7x minus 40. Okay. One thing that I have not went through is in this situation. This 2 is now on our way. Remember, this y is singular. It is by itself. We need it by itself. So what are we going to do to get rid of it? So this is going to be divided by 2 to cancel out this 2. But whatever you do on one side, you must do it to the other. So you're dividing this by 2. You also must divide the 7 by 2. You also must divide the minus 40 by 2. Now some people ask me, Alison, why don't you do the x? Then again, sad to say, the x is just there. So you don't divide it by 2. This eliminates each other, so you're left with y. Now 7 over 2, you can't simplify that further, so that's just left as 7 over 2. Now x, remember with the x, minus 40 divided by 2 is just minus 20. Huh, look at that. What does that look like? Now let's check it. Y equals, what's our m? Our slope is 7 over 2, yes. X, yes. And our y-intercept is 0 minus 20. But in this case, it's not asking for that. It's just asking for the equation of a line. So let's do 2 more questions together. Question 3. So if you are given the point 1, 3, 4, and 1. Okay, let's just write that down here. ax plus by plus c equals 0. So these are our 2 points, right? Find the equation of a line, sorry. No, that actually should be the line. We just do what we've been doing, right? So we label these, we find the slope. After we find the slope, we use the equation of a line, y term. Now remember, every single question we've been doing, it has been in the form of y equals mx plus c. But in this question, it's asking us in the form of ax plus by plus c equals 0. Our answer will not be in the form of y equals mx plus c. It will be in this form. Okay, so first we have to find the slope. y2 take y1 all over x2 take x1. We're going to label our points. y2 is 1, y1 is 3, x2 is 4, and x1 is 1. So that is minus 2 over 3. Okay, so our slope we're going to use is minus 2 over 3. Now let's pick a point. Pick a point, pick any, but I'm just going to pick the first point. It doesn't really matter. Point is 1, 3. Ooh, 3. Okay, now we're going to write down our formula. Y take y1 equals m bracket x take x1. So we're going to label it. Y take y1 is 3. Our slope is minus 2 over 3. X take x1 is 1. So 3 multiplied by y take 3. Now, we leave the minus. Remember, we leave the negative with the top number. So minus 2 multiplied by x take 1. So now we are going to multiply. 3 multiplied by y is 3y. 3 multiplied by minus 3 is minus 9. Minus 2 multiplied by x is minus 2x. And minus 2 multiplied by minus 1 is plus 2. We are going to move this 9 to the other side. So 3y is equal to minus 2x plus 2. Move this to the other side, becomes a plus 9. So plus 9. Now let's just fix this up. 3y is equal to minus 2x plus 11. Let's go back to the question. Find the equation of the line in the form ax plus by plus c. This is the format of what? This is the format of what your answer must be in. That's simply all it is. So in brackets, I'm just going to do ax plus by plus c equals 0 to show the examiner and to remind myself that this answer must be in this form. One tip I must say about this. The only thing different about this and y equals mx plus c is that the y is first in this one, but the x is first in this one. The x is first, the y is second, and then whatever number would be last. All equal to 0, right? But one thing I must say, your x, oh my god, I cannot stress enough how important this is. Your x must always be positive. It will never start with a negative x plus whatever, 3y. No, you will never ever see that. It will always be positive. So let's look at our question here. 3y equals negative 2x. So in this case, our x is negative. What are we going to do to make it positive? So remember when I said you move one single number to the other side, it becomes its opposite sign. So moving this to the other side, that becomes a plus. So that would become 2x. Remember, there's a positive 2x. Now I'm just gonna rewrite this. I'm gonna move everything to the other side. So I'm gonna move all this to the other side. So 2x, I'm gonna do one by one. Minus 2x to the other side, that's just 2x, plus 3y. And the reason why I moved the 2x at the front is because the form must be x first, y second, and the number. Positive 11, moving it to the other side, that becomes a negative 11. Now what are we going to do? Now that all equals to 0. And simply, that is your answer.